Hello. Ah, finally, everything is back. Um, I pressed start streaming and my computer collapsed. I just love it. So, my name is Goran Mankic. You're watching Tilda Center stream about Frontend. And today, first, we're going to talk about Freenit, of course. So, uh, we're going to talk about React. How do we create a store? How do we uh, connect it to backend? Basically, what we talked about last week. Uh, we're gonna just skim through the last week and how it's all. Um, as I said, it's more integration than coding. So we have to understand how it works. And I know that um, the store is the most complicated complex thing that we're going to work on. So I hope you're gonna stick with me. We're going to introduce it now slowly, and I know there was a lot of code that was dumped uh, onto you at uh, at one point. So I hope I'm gonna make it more clear today what were I thinking uh, when I introduce you to all of that. So let's see, what were we doing last week? Um, I start with this file because I do use Reggae. As someone who wrote it, it would be ridiculous not to. So for me, this is the starting point where everything is connected. Actually, to be really precise, it's this line, and these are just definitions. But I usually start with this file and just look what's in there. And when I started uh, with reggae, what's gonna happen? Reggae is gonna run this init and devil for me in the jail, but just so that you know why I always start with this page, it's kind of specific. Anyway, if you're not using it, you're gonna use this init and devil scripts to start your front end, and we added backend just as reference, just for the login to start working. And we would like today uh, to connect a little bit more to actually work with the backend, get some data, and see how to display it. So for now, actually, let's start with the browser. Sorry. Right, this is the. hmm, Okay, so you can see this now. This is what is used for the backend tutorial. This is the repository. Pay attention that currently it's step 4. So just that you have a reference if you're watching this video. uh, what is it referring to in the backend. So we're going to remove our backend in the repository I created. Uh, I wanted to show you how to start a project, so it's not in vain. It's still valid. That's how the project is started. But if you have some backend already, this is the other alternative. Either you have some backend and you use it, that we're going to do today, or you don't have it and then you generate one like last week. So we're going to go. Just a sec. How does this look like? All right. Give me just a sec. Okay. So we have our backend that we want to get rid of, and we're going to. So I'm just gonna paste the whole URL from the browser. Now this is not something I can clone, but this is the branch I want to clone, and I think this is the syntax. Bear with me. This will work one way or the other. Right. Let's give it a try. All right. What did I clone? Step 04. Okay. How do I know that? Like this. So let's initialize it again. Okay. While it's being initialized, there are Python dependencies, that are libraries that are being downloaded and installed. Migration is being done, and this is the migration we are really interested in today. I mean, the blog actually working on the back end and on the front end. We want to integrate those, and there is always okay. Um, was it? Now I wonder. Wait, that's why I start with this. So I know there is something defined in the name.py. So name.py contains my first blog, and if I take a look, no, 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 that's not what I want to show you. So I know that application name is my first blog, and that's why I know this exists. And I actually need this because I have a fish shell. If you have bash, this is the one, and there is seashell, right? So depending on what shell you use, you're gonna source a different file. And this is the one. So install microvisky. Right. And now if I run it, please, please, please. All right. We have it. Let me just do the quick check in the browser, meaning I'm going to see what's inside the Swagger. This is the way for the backend to describe to us as front end developers what needs to be sent or consumed, as in what kind of data. So we know that this is everything one blog list can return. But for example, this array can be empty, so we don't have to see all this and so on. But this is the format of the data that is going to be uh, retrieved whenever we do get the data. This is the HTTP method. This is the URL, and this is like as a front end developer, you can understand it as a playground. This is the way how to uh, get information, how to actually write your code. Now let me be more specific. I think this is too small. Sorry. So this is if you're running it from the shell, you can run this and you're going to get the same results, the same response. As you can see, we don't have any blog posts, so that huge list, huge JSON is actually not sent because there is no data yet. What I'm trying to say is that response body and example value can be radically different, but predictably different, meaning that all arrays can be zero length or not. And depending on that, uh, these values will be shown or not. But not just that, all these fields can be optional, for example. So you don't have to trust this blindly, but it says, okay, this is all the data that you can expect. Now, some of it is going to be missing, but this is everything, right? And it tells you if here is true, you know that it's a boolean. If it's like this, then you know it's a string, right? And do I have a number? Yeah, ID is always a number for SQL database, which we're using. So this is the output that we can expect, but now without data there is little to display. So how do you read this? How do you translate this into the front end code, URLs, methods, whatever? First thing, notice that this is a get method and this URL API v0 blogs. Okay, so we need to put this down somewhere in the front end. So let's check it out first. All right. Yeah. Basically, we have in the backend we have the microvisg telling us whenever somebody triggers some URL. Now, when you're working on integration, you need front end and back end. So this is not going to be enough. Oh yeah, to deactivate a virtual environment, you can do it like this. I actually like system packages and Python packages, but this is, I think, the most portable way to run your Python packages and check it out. So, because we need actually two terminals in one, we're going to say, okay, let me start my backend here. It's something I always do, run bin init then bin devel, because there are sometimes updates of the libraries and it will pick it up. All right, so what happened is that also it opened a URL on development server in my browser so I can start working. Now, this is a little bit big, but for now it's okay, actually. Okay, what do we have here? So now we want code, and this should be different, yeah. Um, uh, 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 I wanted to show you something, right? Yeah, I think it's here. All right, yeah. In routing, well, it makes sense. The everything that needs to be routed to API is under routing, right? It's self-explanatory. So every um, endpoint in the backend is going to be prefixed with this API route. And API route is API v0. If you remember, this is what we are trying to build here. So this API, whenever there's a request that starts with this prefix, is going to actually that starts with slash API is going to be proxied to the backend. How do I know that? Because of this, right? And all right, so this is the common error. I didn't give it a backend URL, so let's see what happens. What should happen is that it tells me there's no such page because my target is non-existing, and this was never executed. So, uh, but let's just assume that that's not the error while I'm here, and we're going to register REST API with this API route. We're going to attach that to the REST itself, and we're gonna say, okay, there's a page with a blog list. That's the one. Go there, and in store is going to have to say something about this window REST. Okay. When I say it's gonna have to say something about it, that means in the store. And in the store, this URL is going to be appended to this API route, and that's going to be um, proxied to the backend with these headers page and per page. And I'm gonna get if everything goes all right, I'm gonna get a response, and its data is going to be the result, and I'm signaling is everything okay or not. If there's an error, I'm gonna return the error so that calling whatever called the fetch all or every, show it to you like this. These are all the methods that we are using, and this is the store constructor, block store constructor. So these are what we are interested today, and this one in particular, actually all of them, I wanted to say, return the result which contains OK, which is true or false. So when you call them, you can know what actually happened. But they are asynchronous, so you have to wait for them. Now, that means something later. I'm gonna explain in just a bit what this async means and when do you have to use it. Uh, Actually, whenever you're talking to the backend, you're going to use it. And what we did is uh, that's list, right? What we did is we have this artificial ad block post, right? Which we're not going to use today. We're going to use something else. We're going to use constructor with props that's going to call super. And then it's going to say, okay, how about you fetch whatever is needed. And that fetch is actually async function, which actually calls the block store. So I need block from props store, and inside that, okay, let me really simplify this one. Yeah, this is not needed anymore. Uh, this is not the way to write it, but this is the way to understand it. So I'm going to call fetch all, and I'm gonna fetch the result. Actually, don't even do that. Let me just call fetch all with the await. So whenever there's async and you wanna wait for the actual result from the backend to appear, you have to accompany it with a wait when you call this fetch all. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to wait for this get to do what it does and go through this. Otherwise, if you don't put it, it's going to get to this point and say, okay, here you are, what is called a promise that once you will get that data or the error if it occurs. Uh, and you say that way you can call multiple you can send multiple requests to the backend and then wait for them all together. We're not going to use that today. I'm just explaining why this is done in the way it is. So you have to actually wait for the results from the backend for them to be usable. And let's see what it means for the. No, blocks. Right. So I didn't do this. Can I increase this too? Oh, right. So where am I? Blogs. All right. 404, as I said. Uh, it's a good URL. We just didn't provide the backend URL for the front end. What I mean by that is, uh, all right, this is my machine, or you can write 127001. Let me try it out. I mean, it's outlined here, so you can just copy paste it. And I always call uh, my desktop PAL 9000 So replace it with your hostname. Right, we want this. All right, and we want to go to the blocks. All right, so now I didn't get something, and let's see what did I get. This is the response, and data is actually no. Let's go through that again. What we are doing here is getting the block store and the UI of that block store list is mapping data to the paper and its content for every blog post that it finds in the data as array. How do we know that the data is array? I mean, we saw it in a. Oh, hell. I'm not showing the right terminal. All right. Let me go through that again. Sorry. Um, so we're using block store to map data as array. We see that data here initially is an array, and actually the proper way to initialize it is like this, so that we have the proper um, initial data. And uh, we're gonna say we didn't fetch anything because the total is zero. This is a zero length and so on. And then the data, either initially or when it arrives from the backend, is going to be mapped. Every blog in this list, in this array called data, is going to be mapped to its own paper that we're going to put in the render and then return it, right? So we're going to see what is blog list. No, let's see the whole blog list, right? Let's see what's going on there. So once the um ah I have more data than I wanted. All right, but once there's initial data, that's what you brought here, and that's what you get. But once you get the data from the server, this OK is true. This is non-existing, right? When I if I would ask it, what's the value of OK here, it would be twice undefined and then true. But what would you do if I ask you, I think this, is it true or false? You would say twice false and then true. Why is that? Because every um, null or undefined value is considered false. So what is going on here? OK false, OK false, OK true. And we know that OK is true once the data arrived from the server. This is what we have. Pages total, right. Uh, the size of this array is still zero, unfortunately, and we're going to fix that in just a second. But I wanted to improve this. Uh, how do you improve it? Is by actually saying if result is not okay, then uh, then compile this error by using helper function called errors, and then notify not think it's notification. I'm gonna check it soon. And this now notification notification comes from here, and the error comes from here. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly check if I'm right. That's the store provider, and yes, it's called notification. All right. So if there's something wrong, just show that message to me. And this is practically what you're gonna do all the time. Get the result. If result is not okay, then display an error. And when we say display an error in Freenit, this is what we mean. These two functions, actually, one condition and two functions. So it's gonna fetch the data from the backend, but with come on, um, I'm always showing the wrong window. Okay, sorry. Now this is what I wanted to improve. These three lines. Get the result, check if it's okay, and then compiler errors and show them. Errors come from Freenit, and notification comes from the store. It's notification store. Okay, so let's go back to the browser. This time for the Swagger, and I have to log in. By default, uh, this will exist. It's an example user, and I'm gonna get response body here, and code is 200. So I know I'm logged in, and no, sorry. When I create a post, I'm gonna say my first post, blog post. The content is I really have no idea how this works. New published, yes. Image. Okay, let me see. Uh, let's say this is something I can freely use. It's ours. Okay. Uh, and I got this response. Uh, this is what we're not today, but this is what we need to do with our front end exactly to send data similar to this, get it from the user input, and receive this response and do something about it. But for now, we just want to have something in here, right? I don't want to have um, empty list, right? So for now, this is going to work. We notice that the title is right, and the content, although small, is here. If there was more content, yeah, it probably would be shown here. But the image is wrong. The image is wrong because we mocked the image while we didn't have a backend. So let's change that. First, let's change the terminal. I guess I have to say it out loud every time. So, what is it? Blog title, blah, blah, blah. This is the URL of the image. No, did I? Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. This is actually what I want. And now this. I want these. You're gonna see in a second why. Uh, what did it return? Uh, Image is called, right? Okay. Now what this do is for every blog post is going to replace the put the title in H2. It's going to put content into. It's all going to be one big paragraph, which ultimately is not okay, but for now we're good with it. And it's going to say that the image is this one, right? Also blog image. We have to use this. It's called backticks. So the JavaScript knows, okay, if I write something with a dollar and between braces, replace that variable content. No, no, actually, replace this with like doing this and replacing it with whatever is in this variable, and it's going to be a URL, ideally, right? Maybe this is more obvious. And let's see. No, no, it's not. Did I save it? Oh, all right. Now I'm not embarrassed to show my browser again. Because the URL is here. So you know how to map the data to render to the UI to display it. And now I want to get rid of this because I basically don't need it. Uh, why? Because I know that this array is going to contain an object that is, if you look at this is basically what we got from the Swagger, right? This is the same. Okay, if I extract author and roles and whatnot, but that's the same response, that's the same data. So this is also the way how to understand the Swagger in the context of your front end. All right. So because I know how to read the Swagger now, I'm gonna remove the print. Where am I doing? Oh, all right. So it's cleaner now, and because it's not obvious how we're achieving all this, let me go through it again. It's a little bit of magic. So what we start is with the initial state, initial store, because state in React is something special. Okay, we will probably get to that. Not probably, certainly get to that what state is, but this is a store, and to avoid confusion, it's really important to call it a store. So now detail should be ignored for now. We worked with the list, and we know that in the list, in this render, this blog list data, so list and data in the blog store, are going to look like this, right? It's going to be an empty array. But once the data arrives through the store, and me just hold everything except what we need, when it arrives through this call, uh, waiting for backend to get the data from this URL, which is prepended with API v0 and proxy it to the backend, then that results data and OK state is set as a list and returned to the what is called the calling function. What is calling function is this one because it calls the fetch all, right? And if there's an error, the error will be returned and the OK state will be false. That's how we know that we should do something if there's an error. Actually, let me show you the error. Well, let me show you what I'm actually talking about by just writing the gibberish URL here. And now, okay, let me refresh. Now you can see that this is empty, and no, better like this because it has auto close when you're not looking at the console. It's gonna close on its own. So this is how it looks, but there's still something weird with the theme because this is white. Or you can close it because you've seen it. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Thank you very much. So let's fix the URL, right? And now this is what we get, right? When I refresh, because everything is on a local host, this is blazingly fast, but maybe sometimes you're on a slower internet or your clients are, and this is not going to be instant, or just the server is, I don't know, in America and you're in Europe, so there's at least the speed of light. That's the limit, uh, the lower limit of your lag. So let me fix one more thing. I just wanna. I'm not gonna show you in the terminal. It's gonna be real quick, and that is I wanna remove this add block post because that's not how we are going to do it. And if we add more blog posts that we call my backend is not so bad, still have a lot to go. And I'm gonna leave the same logo. I just lazy to search for logos. So this is what we get. And you can see where I'm going with this. More blog posts you create, more is going to be displayed. But let's go to extreme. Let's create a few. Now these are not really smart blog posts. All right, let's create more. Right. So we're gonna stop somewhere. All right. And what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10 of them. Okay, so by default, pagination in Freenit is going to be limited by 10, but you can change it. And let's see how to change that because this one is really sticking out of the punch. So let's see how we can change that. In store, Oh yeah, this is also set to default of 10. But if we say 9 here, our browser has displayed only 9. And oh yeah, I didn't program this. But ideally, when you go to the next page, only one will be shown. Let's actually execute quite a few more. And you see that even if I have more than 9, only 9 are going to, up to 9 are going to be shown per page. And that's the purpose of this paging. That's how we are doing it. I think this was fairly complex, and this is where I'm going to stop. Uh, Next time we're going to use, we're going to implement the paging so that this list is complete. And these are all going to be links to something because just showing this, okay, come on, give me something clickable so I can go to the actual blog post and read the whole text, right? Maybe nicer pictures, but I don't believe I'm gonna be artistic. But this is the list of blog posts fetched through the um, proxy to the backend and then back with the data and show in the render by mapping the store list data. That's the shortest example what's going on under the hood here. And I think if you watch closely, uh, I hope that that's enough of explanation for today's lecture as we are Tilda Center. Uh, as as I'm illiterate, um, Tilda Center doesn't know how to uh, write. No, I'm just kidding. We are really dedicated to education, and we are collecting money for our uh, renting the apartment so we can do all this online and in person and give, I don't know, consultation if needed. All our lectures are and always will be free for everyone. So please consider Patreon and sending a few bucks our way. Thank you for watching, and that is all for today. I'm gonna see you next time.